Law Talk with Nick Maruchak, thanks to MKI Legal, your trusted employment and family lawyers.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Alrighty, at the new time of 11:40, because I'm a bit late. Apologies for Nick Maruchak, but we have got Law Talk now. 1338 882 is the number to call. If there's anything going on in your life, you want a little bit of legal advice around, then by all means, give us a call, and we'll get to some of the messages we've had for you in a second. Good morning to you, Nick.
Good morning, Gary.
Thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Lovely to be here.
Just before we do get to some of those text messages, and by the way, just call the number in the meantime while we're talking, 1338 882. The other day, I wasn't an alarmist. I didn't mean to be. I just saw that there'd been some answers come back to the state parliament on the number of registered sex offenders living in the community of Western Australia. And I must admit, when I saw the figures, I did a bit of a poll test around the office and said, how many do you reckon? And I got sort of a few hundred but no one said what the actual figure was. And it was 5,800 odd. And over 3,000 of those still have reporting conditions around their existence. So, there are thousands of people out there who are deemed to be, in this day and age, still sex offenders. Now, the level of sex offending we can't drill down into, but certainly people that we should be concerned about. I note that you've been having a little bit look at the sort of community protection level around these people who do live among us. What did you find out, mate?
So some of these sex offenders you've mentioned, which is a very high figure, more than I would have expected, not all of those offenders would be put on a public register. So we have a register that's run by Community Protection. You can access it at communityprotection.wa.au, and it allows you to do three things. One, it allows you to find any high-risk sexual offenders living in your neighbourhood, so your suburb and the surrounding suburbs. It also allows you to make an application to see if there's any of these reported sex offenders that have unsupervised contact with your children. And there's also a register in relation to sex offenders that are on the run. So I accessed this. I was curious.
On the run? Is it
on
really?
The run, and all failed to report. And I looked at that, and there's only 13 on the list, right? And I actually went in and so I wanted to find out which sex offenders living in my area. One photo came back. It was just this photo of this guy that was just giving this angry stare in the camera. And the thing is, it's just a photo. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know where he lives.
What he's done. You just know that he's one of those people that's deemed to be a sex offender.
Yep. And you know what? I can't distribute that photo. There is these extreme restrictions. If I distribute it, if I publish it in any way, so I put it on Facebook or even I send it to you as a text message, that will count as publishing.
What about if you printed it off and came, because you're a neighbour, a good neighbour, and you said, hey, look, I've come across this, I've printed it out, have a look, this guy's in the area. What about that?
I would be liable for an offence and convicted of imprisonment for up to 5 years maximum. So the problem I have with this register, and I think everyone should go in and check it out. It's very easy to access. You just have to get your driver's license, and they give you a link, and the link expires in 3 days. And
you put your suburb in or postcode or something. Is that what happens?
They verify your postcode through your driver's license. Yeah. So the thing is, there's all these restrictions that prevent everyone from talking about it. So I was even a bit scared to even show a photo of this sex offender to my wife because it restricts you from publishing it. And publishing it can mean sending an email. It can mean anything. It's certainly a very broad term.
Certainly printing it.
Yeah. So I can't show my friends. I can't show anyone. So
what's the point then? Because I would have thought that it's there so that the community can be warned. And if you, a good citizen, Nick Maruchak, decides, well, I'm going to warn my street.
Yes, right? And you should be able to do that. The point is that the government is trying to find this balance between protecting criminals' rights and stopping vigilante action against them versus the community's right to know. And I think the balance is a bit wrong. I know in other countries, they have a lot more details they give you. And here, there's just a photo which really is not that useful.
So you don't even know, like, the person that you saw the photo of, you don't even know when they may have been released, because it could have been 6 months ago.
No, I don't. And also to get on this register is actually, it's not that easy. So a lot of it will be automatic if it's child-related offences. Yeah. But if it doesn't involve children, there has to be kind of this extra test that this person has to pose a risk to the community and stuff like that. So it's not, so I think out of these 5,000 offenders that you've mentioned, I don't know. I reckon not many of them are on the list.
It's a long time since I had a look. I think probably at the time when the legislation was going through many years ago that I decided to have a look to see whether the register applied to anyone in my burb. I'm trying to remember if I found anyone, but I might have another look now. Yeah, I get your point. It's like, well, okay, let's say that something did happen, and it might not be really serious, but I just might go as a parent, I might go, oh, hang on, I was a bit concerned about that guy down the park, the way he was talking to my kid. I'm just going to go and see whether that person's photograph is on the register, even though they won't tell me their name or exactly where they live.
Yep.
It's that. But that's kind of not enough, is it?
There is one extra thing you can do. So you can actually make an application and the police will do a review to see if there's any of these reported sex offenders that have unsupervised contact with your child. So that's another thing you can do on the website. I haven't done that yet because I've got a 4-year-old son. I am going to do that. And so you have to make an application. The police review it. It's discretionary whether they tell you or not. And when they tell you, there's all these restrictions. You can't even talk about it and you can't publish it. So it's...
Might be worth a revisit given that the number's 5,800 and something and 3,500 of those are still having to go through reporting requirements under the orders that they've been released on or that they've been bailed on or whatever the case may be. All right, 133 882, by the way. We'll take a break, reset. If there's anyone that wants to speak to Nick, we've got some messages that I've got to get to in a second. But if you would like to speak to Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal, give us a call right now. Anything going on in your life, you want some legal advice around, it's 14 minutes to 12. All right, let's go to the lines. Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal's here, and we've got Brian there. You've got a traffic accident situation, Brian. How can we help?
Oh, it's very minor. G'day, Gary. G'day, Nick. Thanks for taking my call. On Monday night, I had an Amazon delivery driver deliver something to my property. I have no idea why he decided 10:30 at night in pitch black was a good time to do it, but it was a very large double bed frame, and as he delivered it, it fell off his trolley, and his trolley toppled over and hit my car. And my car's like brand new. Now, I've contacted the courier company, and they've then got the courier driver to ring me directly, but I don't know which direction do I take. Do I go and speak to the courier company in order to cover the cost of the damage to the vehicle?
Yeah, so the starting point is the courier company, because a lot of these Amazon drivers, they're subcontractors, right? So there's a question whether Amazon will be liable for their actions. So first step is contact the courier. He or she should be insured. So they'll have their own insurance. That will probably be a requirement Amazon will have for their subcontractors to have adequate insurance. So contact him, and then and then try and negotiate with him to get the quote for him to pay. If you can't get hold of him, that's where it becomes a little bit more problematic, right? So you can, do you think you have any problems knowing his identity? Or?
Yeah. You got details?
Well, the actual courier driver himself rang me and apologised and admitted fault, and we do have video surveillance footage. But the thing I asked him is if he had public liability insurance, which he doesn't. So I figured my best course of action is going directly back to the courier company that subcontracts him. Is that the right direction to go?
Yeah, so you can try the courier company first because they will have more money, they'll have deeper pockets, and then say one of your drivers acting on your behalf and see if they'll accept liability, right? Because the courier company is liable for their employees, right? So if an employee commits something in the course of their employment, the employer is liable, but it's not the same for contractors. So contractors, then they don't make the company or the business automatically liable. That's where these issues come up. So you can contact them first to see if they'll do anything. If they reject liability, then you just have to go after this individual driver, and hopefully he will, if he has some sort of motor vehicle insurance that might cover it, but then it's a matter of commencing a claim against the driver. And so that would be the second step.
So insurance company first, so the courier company.
Company.
Okay, all right, okay. Courier company first, Brian. Hope you get success. Stuart's there. G'day, Stuart. You got a will question?
Yes, thank you, Gary, for taking my call, and I'm terribly sorry I've forgotten about that.
It's Nick.
Nick.
Yep.
Thank you, Nick. May I ask, my sister-in-law and her mother have had a falling out. She is the mother of 4 children, and then she's threatened to cut her out of the will. They're quite wealthy people that live in a suburb in Perth. Is there any recourse, or is there any way that my sister-in-law can challenge that will and say, no, when she passes away, of course, is there any recourse, I guess I'm saying?
All right.
All right, so this is your sister-in-law challenging your mother's will. Have I got that right? So
No. I'm terribly sorry. No, her mother's will.
Okay, your sister-in-law challenging her mother's will, right? So
Yes.
a child.
Yes.
So there's when it comes to challenging wills, only a limited group of people can challenge wills. So they include children, grandchildren, circumstances, spouses, parents. So there's a limited group of people. So in this situation, yes, a child can challenge a parent's will if they are excluded from the will. So your sister-in-law can challenge her mum's will. But the question is, it doesn't happen automatically, right? So a person who makes a will has the right to leave their estate to anyone they want. And then when your sister-in-law will bring a challenge against her mother's will, the court will have to make a decision on whether it's essentially fair to give her some of the assets from the will. And one of the first things your sister-in-law has to prove is that she hasn't been made adequate provision from the will. So if she's quite wealthy, then, it's hard for wealthy people to challenge wills because they're well off, right? But if she's in a more difficult position, then she probably passes that test. And then they'll look at the circumstances surrounding the falling out and say, if there's an estrangements involved and stuff like that. So there's a whole factor that's taken into account for the court to reach a decision, A, whether the person should be given money, and B, how much money. Because you have to look at all the other beneficiaries under the will to see if there is a...
It's just that thing that people... someone can always challenge, can't they? I mean, that's my understanding. You can pretty much always challenge.
You can always challenge if you're in that group of people, right? And so but you have to do it in 6 months within probate or letters of administration being granted, right? So there's a quick deadline for that. Lots of lawyers do that kind of work, and it takes sometimes years to resolve. And if it can't resolve quickly, usually the executor or people can negotiate, the beneficiaries can negotiate and agree to give something to the other person. So if it's estrangement, it depends on the circumstance. If you're estranged as an adult, generally hard to win.
All right. Okay. I hope that helped everybody. Nick, thank you very much for coming in with the information you did earlier on. I'm going to go home and check my community protection website and see what's going on around my area, because you've got to do it every now and then, just so you know. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Gary.
Nick Maruchak there from MKI Legal.